Welcome to Confessions by Banana Ketchup. I had to break the news to a spirit that they were dead, and I cried for him. I ghost hunt at the Mansfield Reformatory in Mansfield, Ohio a lot. In fall of 2019, I had discovered someone lingering in the East Showers. No one had known about him, so I kept him a secret for a bit. We got really close, and I learned some things about him, and he's visited me at home, which isn't a problem for me. Mind you, I use my pendulum to speak to him. Months later, on another hunt, we discovered that he was being abused and was very badly hurt. He was hiding in a corner, scared for his life. So my father helped him out and escorted him to the hospital to get checked out. We went up a couple of hours later, and he felt safe there, so we encouraged him to stay. After this happened, that's when I started to tell people of his existence and inform them of what had happened to him. When I first met him, I had found out that he didn't know he was dead. I felt like it wasn't my place to tell, and if it ever became my place to tell, I knew that it was too soon. June 2020 rolls around, I invited some friends along with my dad to help me speak to him, because I knew there was something that had to be talked about up in the hospital. Another spirit has been harassing him and telling him what to do, and he couldn't escape it. My dad was helping him understand that he doesn't have to listen to this guy, especially because he has no superiority over him. He was basically just a guy who was trolling him. My dad started slowly easing into it, asking him how it's possible that he hasn't eaten in a while, explaining to him that he is able to go through walls and leave rooms whenever he wants, telling him that he can leave whenever this troll is harassing him. My anxiety and intuition started to rise. But the anxiety wasn't my own. I knew that straight away. Something was telling me that he was nervous about what my dad was saying to him. I ended up talking over and explaining how we are all dressed differently, how we are all wearing masks because of pandemic, because it's 2020, not 1890s. I said, "Do you know where I'm getting at?" And my pendulum responded with yes. And right after that, I could feel tears coming, and I said, "I can't do it." I couldn't tell him he was dead, but he already knew. I started crying really hard, and I felt a huge pang in my chest. The kind of pang you feel when you've just been told a loved one had died. And I knew I wasn't crying. It was him crying. I have never felt another's emotions before, and the pain I felt, I knew was his, and so did everyone else who witnessed that. A friend who took an audio recording of the session told me she heard a male voice say "dead" after I asked if he knew where I was getting at. And when she played it for me, I heard it too, and we knew it was him. I cried for a good couple of minutes and was telling my dad how heartbroken he was to hear that. It was very hard for both of us, but eventually he grew to accept it. Ever since then, I've become sensitive and can sometimes feel the emotions of the spirits I speak to. Sometimes it's strong, sometimes it's not there. It was one hell of an experience, but I love him to death and hope I never lose him. That's how close we have become. I was told we have a special connection, and I don't doubt it because I feel it. Anyways, thanks for listening to my experience. I've been wanting to share it somewhere. Edit. There is a hospital wing on the second floor, which is where we sent him to. Sorry for not explaining that better. Edit 2. Thank you for sharing your similar experiences and just commenting overall. If you're here to basically shit on me and tell me what I said is fake, then I feel sorry for you because you have to be so bored to be on this subreddit to invalidate others' experiences. I know my truth, and this is it. I shared it because I wanted to meet like-minded people, and I did. But there are always bad apples and skeptics who want to put others down for believing in something as interesting as the paranormal. The crossing over is in November. He'll be in a happier and safer state. Overall, thanks for reading, whether you believe it or not. Thank you, icutmyliiip, the author. I don't really know what I encountered in Colorado. First post, just a weird thing I encountered on my first wedding anniversary. My wife and I decided to make the drive to Colorado Springs on the recommendation of a friend of mine. She'd never seen mountains before, so I figured the Rockies would be perfect. We stayed in a Holiday Inn that was right at the base of the mountain basically, and had a great view of Pikes Peak as soon as we looked out the window. She was thrilled. She'd never seen anything like it before, and she's a sucker for a gift shop, so this place was great. We had a great time. Our second day there, we decided to drive up to Pikes Peak, but we were told at the gate we could go up most of the way, but very summit was closed off because there was too much snow. We could still get really far up though. I think Pikes Peak is around 14,000 feet, and we got to like 11,000 feet before it was closed off. So, we were up above the clouds, which were awesome, because it just looked like looking out over the ocean. We stopped at the little rest center on the way up to get hot chocolate for the drive and a magnet for Colorado, since we collect magnets for every state we go to. It was pretty cool, because we had Bigfoot crossing signs along the way up, which was really fun to take picture in front of. Anyway, once we got to the closed off part of Pikes Peak, we parked our car and got out and just kind of took in the view. I didn't think anybody else was up there with us, except the guy a little up the way sitting in his truck making sure people didn't go up any higher than they were supposed to. Even if we couldn't go to the summit, it was still gorgeous. We took some pictures, all of which were pretty terrible, and it was really cold. But I'd insisted we buy 511 jackets, pants, and boots for the trek, and my wife didn't understand why I demanded that brand. But if you're a dude, you know. So we were pretty toasty. I wandered off and started looking around the rocks, and what few trees were up at that elevation. I just like to explore stuff off the beaten path. I heard some snow crunching nearby, and assumed it was another sightseer, so moved toward the sound of the crunching snow, but didn't see anybody. There's a few trees here and there, but not hard to really see. It was snowing a bit, however, and the wind was blowing the snow sideways. I'd gone pretty far from my wife at this point, and didn't want to stray too much further, but I was honestly hoping to see a wolf or something. I found tracks in the snow, and they were pretty small. The snow was kind of deep, so I couldn't really tell what kind of animal made them, but it looked like it walked on all fours. So I was really hoping to see a wolf. I did not see a wolf. At first, I didn't see anything. I followed the tracks around the tree and kind of carefully peeked around it, but didn't see anything. The tracks stopped there though. I didn't get right up on the tree because if it was a wolf, I didn't want to get face to face with it. I'll also say I have no idea if there are wolves in the Rockies. I was just sort of hoping. What I did see eventually was a pure white thing, scurry away from the exact location I was looking. It was pure white. I'm not sure if it was invisible or just blended in perfectly with the snow. It moved on all fours, had a huge bulbous head, kind of like the way you think of a typical version of an alien. And it had a spindly body. Its arms and legs were super skinny, and its body wasn't a whole lot bigger. Its arms and legs themselves were really long. I'd say it was probably between 4 and 5 feet tall if it were standing upright. It was a bit hard to tell with it always on all fours and in the snow. It turned around and took a look at me and had really small black eyes and no defining features. Its eyes were really far apart and almost on the side of its head. Its feet and hands were buried, but when it wanted to move, I saw what its hand looked like. It had fingers that were way too long, like not E.T. long, but wiry, spindly fingers. It looked at me for just a second and then leaped forward away from me, and as soon as it landed in the snow, it was invisible again, or I just couldn't see it. Then it hopped again, and it jumped a good 6 feet or so from a dead stop, and took off running. It ran away from me and scaled some rocks in the distance like it was nothing, and crawled along the cliffside. Whenever it was in the snow, it looked invisible though. I'm not sure if that's because it was all white, or because it was like actually turning invisible. Anyway, in a few seconds it was gone. When I got back to my wife, she was waiting in the car and didn't believe a word of it and thought I was just trying to scare her. To this day, she doesn't believe me. And I don't know what it was. I've never heard of any cryptid or anything like it. And on the trek back down, I asked the lady at the gift shop if people ever reported seeing weird things, and she just mentioned Bigfoot. Thank you, Silenceisloid, the author. I hope I pronounce it right. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you already haven't, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out any new episodes. See you again in my new video, and until then, please, be safe.